Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunny and Phoenix podcast, a weekly podcast where we keep you up to date on everything Phoenix Suns basketball. My name's Charlie Erling. I have David McGraw and Mitch Krumpetich with me today. I'm happy to say that we are all sobered up from that week in Vegas, and we're all back home, ready to get back on that normal schedule, put out some podcasts for you guys. How are you fellas doing?
You know, I want to do a callback and just say that I don't know what to say right now, and leave it at that.
Perfect.
I'm here. I miss Vegas.
You're the only one.
Well, I miss aspects of Vegas. I'm glad to be back in like a normal routine again and like going to bed at a normal time, but I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Nice to get back to that regular schedule, and I can definitely wait 360-ish days to go back for sure. Make sure to get a hold of us on social media. Our Twitter is @SunnyandPHXPod. Our email is sunnyandphxpod@gmail.com. And check us out over at our new host, the Deepish Thoughts Podcast Network, over at deepishthoughts.com.
Thanks for listening to the Sunny and Phoenix podcast. If you'd like to further support the show, you can head over to tpublic.com/user/sunnyandphx. That's teepublic.com/user/sunnyandphx. We've got t-shirts, mugs, phone cases, all kinds of stuff. You can get our famous Cheese is Warming Up design, or just one that says Sunny and PHX. Again, tpublic.com/user/sunnyandphx. And go Suns.
Okay, let's start things off with the Ryan McDonough extension news. McDonough got 3 more years added onto his deal to stay on as the GM of the Phoenix Suns. And I'm just very happy about this because I'm of the belief that you should get the chance to finish what you started. And McDonough's been making some great draft picks. The trades have panned out, and I just think he deserves this for sure. So what do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I don't want to say the trades have panned out necessarily. There's still some questionable stuff, but, you know, the draft picks have been pretty solid so far, and, you know, there is still work with a few of them, of course. Everyone has room for improvement, but, you know, I agree. I was a little nervous that with this being basically the last season on his contract that McDonough was going to feel forced to make some sort of move. And I think with an extension that kind of takes that off, and Sarver continuing to reiterate that he knows that we should have gone full tank earlier on and that he was being selfish, I think is a good look for McDonough and good for what he should feel is his job security.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the extension, especially with the way McDonough has drafted. We all know that there's been some exciting stuff there. And, yeah, I think it goes right along with our youth movement, too. You know, McDonough's young for a GM, and it's like, have a young coach, young GM, young players. Let's keep them all together. And, you know, Earl Watson always emphasizes this family element, and I think by extending McDonough, we're continuing to work in that same vein.
Yeah, and I mean, I know a lot of people give Watson a lot of garbage, and especially outside of the team and some inside the fan base, specifically fan bases, and say that, you know, he's not really a good coach and all that stuff. And, you know, he doesn't have to be the best coach right now. He's all about instilling a environment, a locker room feel, you know, making that family element. He's, you know, a lot of people are not a fan of Mark Jackson, but we kind of want him to be a Mark Jackson right now. Take these young guys and instill a culture within them. And then if Watson continues to develop and builds like a playbook basically that's good and is able to take that next step, then awesome. If not, maybe we need someone else to get us there, but he is there to build culture, and I think that can't be overstated enough.
And keeping on track with the family theme here. The Suns brought James Jones back as VP of basketball operations. So a guy from that 7 seconds or less era, a great guy to have on your team, a great guy. I mean, we've all heard it from LeBron how much he loves James Jones. So I think that's a big move for us to bring him in here. Another youngish guy for a role like this can still really relate to the players just 1 year from playing now. Not even, so love it. What do you guys think about him?
Yeah, I think it's great. This guy knows how to win. He's been in the finals for the past 7 years or something like that. He's been on the big stage, and that's something that we've kind of lacked. Aside from Tyson Chandler, we don't really have anyone on the team who has been in those situations before. So having that is awesome. And, I mean, you've got Kyrie and LeBron and all those guys saying he's this amazing teammate. That's someone you want on your team. So I'm really happy. And, I mean, former Sun, 7 seconds or less era, who wouldn't want this guy on our team?
Yeah, as much as James Jones is kind of a joke in the NBA community about kind of just sitting at the end of the bench and picking up a ring or picking up a finals appearance every year, dude's a consummate professional, and that's what everyone views him as. This is definitely another, family, bringing everyone in, help improve the views that some have for the team, and having a guy like that, he's vice president of basketball operations. That's not going to get a whole ton of play. He's not going to be going and doing a whole ton of stuff or making moves or anything, but he's going to be in the meetings and be a part of, making decisions, and not necessarily making decisions, but be a part of recruitment and all those other kind of things, which is going to be a possibly big deal if we are able to sign someone when we feel, it's ready for for the team to make that next step.
Right. Well, and it's interesting that you bring that position up because during the press conference, they said vice president of basketball operations is not a title that they even had before. They made this title just for James Jones because they want him on the team. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and Sarver and Jones had kind of been buddy-buddy since Jones was a player here in Phoenix. And apparently over the last 2 or 3 years, we've been saying, hey, James, we want you to come work here in Phoenix. Are you going to retire this year? And then he finally hung up the shoes this year, and we snatched him up right away. So I just really like the thing, having a young guy in a position like that, mainly for player recruitment, maybe for free agents. And, I mean, we've seen all the jokes about, oh, LeBron James is coming to Phoenix now that James Jones is here. The true King James is in Phoenix, so maybe LeBron will come too. So, I mean, LeBron said he won't waive his trade clause or no trade clause or whatever it is for the next 2 seasons, I believe. So, hey, maybe in a few years LeBron will say, hey, it's time to retire. Phoenix is the spot to do it. Let's go play there for a few more years.
Well, if there's one thing Sarver's ever done, it's he's not shied away from trying to force meetings with these big-name free agents. And, they would never happen, but they're talked about a lot. That's cool.
Yeah, it's fun to think about that at least. And, since we're talking about all these Cavaliers in the first place, let's move on to this news about Kyrie Irving possibly wanting a trade out of Cleveland. Man, I just don't know. We've seen different reports saying that Kyrie never said this. It might have been LeBron's camp trying to put this out there, but it sounds like there's teams that he wants to go to and teams that have made offers, and it sounds like the Suns have even made an offer. So, what do you guys think it would take to get Kyrie here, if that's even in the realm of possibility?
Well, I mean, the Cavs need good players who are in win now mode, and that for us is Eric Bledsoe. If you look at everything Bledsoe has said over the past year or so, not wanting to get shut down last season and all that kind of stuff, The man wants to play and the man wants to win. I love Eric Bledsoe for that, but like he wants to win, and he said in an interview recently that he loves Phoenix, but he wants to win. And like you can't blame a guy, they're all super competitive. So I think Bledsoe would be a piece of that. I think it would probably require a couple more pieces, including maybe TJ Warren. I'm sure the Cavs would love to have Devin Booker, but we're not trading him, and we've said that before. Or someone like Josh Jackson. I think it would take at least two pieces like that and possibly a draft pick.
So, I mean, this is obviously something that Kyrie has gone to the front office and thought he said in confidence and someone else leaked it out. So, or at least, I guess not definitely. That's just how I view it. I don't think that he expected it to really be leaked out. I think this was something that he probably said in confidence right before his trip to China or his Asia tour, whichever one it is. I'm not sure if he's going anywhere else besides China, but I know he's there right now. I know that the talk has been that like he's upset or whatever. So who knows if someone in LeBron's camp or if someone just got word of it. Who knows really that much. On what it would take to actually get Kyrie, definitely Bledsoe. I mean, his agent is Rich Paul, so that kind of can never be understated enough, or overstated enough, whatever. So I think that's kind of a big deal. And I think that a lot of the speculation on what we've offered or any of that kind of stuff is kind of back from the draft talk of Kyrie going to Phoenix. And so I think at that point, the 4th overall pick was probably valued a little less than we actually view Josh Jackson. So I would assume that we probably don't offer Josh Jackson in any trade offers because I don't think we really expected him to fall to us. If it was anyone besides Josh Jackson, I feel like we were probably completely okay with trading that player. But I do feel that like he kind of just fell into our lap and that we view him a lot higher than number 4 or what the number 4 overall is worth. So I think that's kind of where that comes. I'm sure that we're probably looking at some sort of combination of either Chris or Bender, Warren and Bledsoe, probably, to make a deal get done. And then there's talk that we just be a, third piece in some sort of trade to get Carmelo to Cleveland or whatever, and all this stuff. I don't know. There's so much who knows what's going on, and then it always seems like whenever the player actually does get traded, they go to some team that no one was even thinking about.
Yeah, I'm in the boat with you guys thinking if this were to happen, it'd have to be Bledsoe, one of our small forwards, Warren or Jackson, and then possibly even one of our power forwards, Chris or Bender, and then maybe even a pick. But I just really don't see this happening. It seems like every time there's a rumor that the Cavaliers want to make a trade, like LeBron was saying he wanted a point guard at some point last year, the year before, all this going on right now, it just seems like Bledsoe's automatically connected every time it happens. So, I mean, yeah, if anyone's going to be going to Cleveland from our team, it's probably Eric Bledsoe, but I just really don't see it happening in this case.
Yeah.
But is Kyrie a player you'd want here to play alongside Devin Booker in the backcourt? Do you think he would be a guy that makes us a playoff team within a year or two?
That's tough. I think we're all probably Kyrie fans on this podcast. I think that's safe to say. And there has been some talk about Kyrie not being a passer and all these other things and whatever. I think a lot of people forget that LeBron is the primary ball handler for Cleveland. And it's not necessarily like Kyrie holds the ball that much longer than Bledsoe. if you look at their stats from the last season, then Kyrie averaged 25, 3 rebounds, and 5.8 assists, so almost 6 assists. And Bledsoe averaged 21 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 6.3 assists. So half an assist really between the two. Career-wise, Bledsoe averages 4.6 assists, and Kyrie averages 5.5 assists. The last couple seasons, Kyrie has played basically more of a shooting guard. He's been playing the one, but LeBron's really the primary ball handler. And I think that hurts kind of Kyrie's kind of view as a ball handler. It kind of makes it seem like he is just a scorer and all those things, and everyone wants to say how he is in the Kobe mold and all these other whatever. But dude can play, and if he's playing main guard and main ball handler, he will facilitate. And I don't know, man. He plays basketball really well, and I really like it. And having an elite point guard is very important in the league right now with all the other big names at that position. You have to have someone that can go and put in high caliber and not shine away in the big moments. And if there's one point guard in the league that has shown to step up in those moments, it's been Kyrie. And he might get overrated by some fans and underrated by more, but I mean, dude's a top 5 point guard in the league.
Yeah, I mean, this is so hard for me to answer this question because I love Kyrie and I love Bledsoe. Like, Kyrie's one of my favorite non-Suns players. Bledsoe is one of my favorite players in general. It's so hard for me to say. I mean, obviously, Kyrie is better than Bledsoe. I think pretty much everyone can agree with that. But it's like, is it worth it to like make a big trade like this when we've committed so much to tanking and like our young core and all of that? Like, Kyrie would fit that a little bit better with his age. He's 2 years younger than Bledsoe, so it makes a bit of a difference. But I really don't know. It's so hard for me to say because I like both of them so much.
I don't think it's that hard to say, honestly. I'm just gonna say that. I think that I don't know. Like, everyone's talking about Bledsoe as this great defender, and he has been in the past, but that definitely slipped a bit this year. And I mean, some people are talking about Kyrie injury concern, but Bledsoe has injury concern too. It seems like every other year the dude's hurt. So
right. I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, it's hard for me to choose because of similarities like that, and just personally, I like both of them so much that like I don't even know what to say.
So what about this? Say we do trade for Kyrie. That's Bledsoe plus young assets plus draft picks. 3 or 4 years in the future, are we that much better with Kyrie minus our young players? Or just sticking it out with Bledsoe until his contract's up and then seeing what we can do?
That's a great question. It's so hard to answer.
Right. It feels like we just be stuck in the same motion of having a couple young, solid guys ready to go, but not all the pieces to make a playoff contender. So, I mean, yeah, it just seems like we're kind of caught in a bit of a mess here, no matter what this trade if it ever happens.
yeah, I think I agree. It's tough, and if you want to look at Kyrie's body of work before, where he wasn't really able to win, you got to also think that, I mean, he never really had a great team around him. So, does adding that all-star caliber player to the possible mix of Devin Booker and a Josh Jackson and possibly someone else, like, what does that do for the team in the long term? I don't know, man. I think that is probably enough to push us to that next level. I mean, we probably have a year still before we can actually make some noise for a playoff team. And, I mean, even with Kyrie, that might still be the case. But I mean, if we keep Josh Jackson, if we were to do a trade, and we have a 1 through 3 of Kyrie, Booker, and Josh Jackson, I mean, that's pretty good.
Well,
That's really good. There's one thing here that I've kind of been thinking about too, and that's the teams Kyrie has mentioned he wants to play for include some like good teams. Like Minnesota now is good, and he said he wants to play with Jimmy Butler. San Antonio, where else did he say? A couple other teams that are good. So I kind of had this thought in the back of my head, like, what if the Cavs just like try to screw him over and trade him to a bad team like us or Brooklyn or something just to spite him? Like, I could kind of see that happening.
I mean, Dan Gilbert is kind of a spiteful man.
Right.
But I don't necessarily know if you can rule out a possible Andrew Wiggins reunion in Cleveland of that trade happening. Supposedly Cat and Jimmy Butler are pushing hard for a Kyrie trade. And that means that Wiggins is probably the odd man out, which is kind of rough, but I mean, who knows?
that would be fun for him to go back to Cleveland and just for them to realize, maybe we should have just kept him.
I think they're okay with the championship they got and all.
That's probably true. That's probably true.
And I mean, what would the Spurs even give up for Kyrie? They don't have anything.
Yeah, I don't know what they could give up to. It's fun to think about, though, right?
I mean, maybe they just trade Kawhi for Kyrie straight up.
Man, that would be so crazy.
No thanks. All right, this is gonna be a little too much here. Let's move on. Let's move on to our summer league recap here. And yeah, we were down there for Mitch. You caught 3 games, 3 Suns games. David and I were there a little bit longer. What did we see? 4 or 5?
I have no idea anymore.
No, I think I only saw 2. I think
Oh.
you guys saw 3 or 4. I saw
That sounds
2.
right.
Yeah.
You probably, well,
You know, it's kind of sad how much of a blur this is already. we just got home a few days ago.
Yeah.
All right, so overall, Suns, I think we got to see what we needed to see out of the deal. And, I mean, let's just hop right into it. Who stood out the most to you guys? Mitch, let's start it off with you.
I mean, I got 2 guys, and that's Josh Jackson and Dragan Bender. Bender just looks so much more confident, and we did little episodes after each game, and I've said this before, but man, that confidence was so notable. I loved seeing Bender play that way, and he looked a little bigger, a little stronger. He's getting there. So I'm still big on the Bender hype train. So love seeing him. And then Josh Jackson, he is such a great player. Such high energy. He fits our team so well. It was great to see him play alongside Bender and Chris. I mean, I only saw Chris play for 8 minutes, but whatever. It was cool to see all of those guys together. Like, this is going to be a really exciting team to watch this year.
Let's keep talking about Jackson. What did you think about him, David?
yeah, I'm all aboard the hype train. I've been all aboard the hype train for months now, it seems. And, he didn't disappoint in Summer League. I thought that there was definitely potential for a guy like him that is kind of coming in almost looking like a surefire defensive specialist. And getting to see the other aspects of his game so he could show that off to really the entire rest of the NBA for anyone else that thought he was just a defender. And he did that. He did everything I thought he could do. And, man, just looked good doing it. I think even though he's got kind of an ugly jump shot, it's got like a hitch to it or something, it's just a little funky, a little low. It's still just his game is really fun to watch. He's just great around the rim. He's got really awesome touch. He's got some surprisingly decent handles. He can turn on that defense a bit. It's just all those things kind of help him in a package that there are guys in the league that can kind of get around without necessarily having the best jump shot by having all those other skills. And even if Josh, the season in Kansas was a fluke and he's never really that good of a shooter, I think everything else can propel him to being an all-star caliber player.
Are you talking about Sean Marion right now?
I mean, Sean Marion, 100%, even though, he never got as much credit for all that he did. But even guys in the league right now, and I'm going to drop this, and it's not necessarily like this is what he's going to be, but I mean, Giannis doesn't have that good of a jump shot. Well, he does everything else so well that it just doesn't matter. And so, even though he doesn't have the three ball, he can just do everything else at such a high level, and he just keeps on getting better. And while I'm not saying that Josh Jackson is the next coming of Giannis, because just different body styles, and, Giannis is really good, I will say that, you can be a good to great player without having to shoot the three ball.
Well, and I just keep thinking about how excited I am to see him play next to Booker, because when he can drive, and Jackson can slash really well already, when he can slash and then kick to Booker outside, that's going to be so great, just having another guy who can slash like that, because we've got TJ who can kind of do that, but it's more like the old school, we talk about it all the time, but Jackson is he's the modern slasher, and I can't wait to see him kick out to Booker once he gets double teamed.
Even though he is the modern slasher, though, he definitely looks a little old school out there on the court.
He does.
Dr. JJ.
Dr.
JJ.
Yeah.
He definitely looks
He's got
like
some of those moves.
He definitely looks like he should be wearing an old 70s jersey or something and going and running out there.
I'd like to see him with a headband with that fro, too. I mean, I love the fro, but that headband, I think that would just put him even more into that category.
See, I just want the old school Phoenix jerseys as a throwback this year. The 1970s Cinderella Suns throwbacks.
Like the westernish type looking
Yeah, where it's
font.
kind of like the baseball Phoenix font over the number. Yep. Yeah. I think that would be awesome.
Kind of like on
Jackson.
the gray jerseys.
Yes.
I guess they're not really current anymore, but
the gray
sleeved Adidas jerseys.
Except without the sleeves and
right.
actually cool.
Like a real basketball jersey.
I'm telling you, I think we're gonna get some really cool Nike jerseys. I can't wait to see those things.
I hope so, because there's been some leaks or whatever about some of the shirts for teams, and the numbering does not look good. Sorry, that's besides the point. Sorry, that's besides the point.
I'm gonna go even more besides the point. If you hear some thunder happening, I'm gladly welcoming this thunderstorm right now. So we're just gonna record right through it. We need it. It's Arizona. We appreciate the rain.
I'm jealous of you right now.
Okay, Josh Jackson, though, he played in 5 games, led the team in minutes per game with 35, so we got to see a lot of Josh Jackson. 17.4 points per game, 9.2 rebounds per game, just huge. Then 1.6 assists, 1.2 steals, and 1 block per game, so we got to see all of the skills of Josh Jackson on display at Summer League this year. Pretty good stuff. And Mitch, you said Bender was the other guy that stuck out to you, correct?
Yep.
All right, so I'll read that stat line off. He played 31.4 minutes per game in 5 games, scored 14.2 points, 6 rebounds per game, 2.4 assists per game, 0.4 steals, 0.2 blocks. So the one thing that jumps off the page, 6 rebounds per game for Bender. That's something that he needs to keep up when he's playing in the NBA this year. He needs to be aggressive, needs to act like the tallest guy on the court, and get some rebounds. I think that's where he can really make his mark this year with his great IQ. And if he's grabbing rebounds, I think he'll deserve some minutes. But like you said earlier, Mitch, Bender was really showing some great confidence. He'd get into the lane, throw out a spin move out of nowhere, and then have the feathery touch around the rim to lay it in. He just was looking to score in some situations, and that was really nice to see.
Right, yeah, and then I just compare it to last year's Summer League, which I don't know if I should or not, because it probably isn't fair, but I'm doing it. And I just remember last year, he would shoot a three, and his approach was just a little different. It was a little slower, and he'd miss, and then it seemed like he was a little timid. Not this year. He was pulling up for those shots like it was practice, and if he missed one, next possession, fire away. Doesn't matter. And so I love, like, even if he goes 1 for 10 in Summer League, do it. Pull the string all day. And that's what he did, and I loved it.
Yeah, it was definitely good to see him with a little bit more confidence out there. I definitely think it's tough for some of these European guys to go out there and show the confidence and the will to just do whatever and worry about one possession at a time. And I think that they're a little always worried, which is good, about making just the right play and aren't necessarily confident in some of those situations just because of the different dynamic. But it was really good to see him be a little bit more confident, you know, getting into guys a little bit when some of those Summer League guards would make a foul, and that was kind of unnecessary when Bender had good defensive position. And that was some good stuff to see. And also him yelling out on when to switch screens and stuff. That's going to be big time.
Yeah, I think overall the word that I think I should be using is comfortable. He looked way more comfortable, and that's a big deal for a guy like him.
Absolutely, and with that basketball IQ, that's the guy who I want talking on the court. I want him calling out the screens. I want him yelling the entire time on defense, getting everybody in order. So big things. We definitely saw some big things out of Bender this time at Summer League. David, any other guys that stick out to you?
Yeah, I think definitely Davon Reed, and this is a guy that we have mentioned in some previous episodes, specifically the ones from last week when we were in Vegas. And Mitch said it probably a couple times each of the two games that, man, he just looks bigger than I thought he would. And while I won't go that far, dude's got long arms. Dude has a body like he's been playing basketball for the last 4 years in a college program, which he has been. You know, we devalue these senior guys so much. And yeah, is he just possibly or probably a 3-and-D player off the bench? Yeah, but that doesn't mean the dude's not going to ball and play pretty solidly. So I'm really excited about that pickup. He had some nice blocks, had really some nice spacing and all that kind of stuff. I'm really excited to see him get some minutes in the NBA.
Yeah, let's go stat line for Davon Reed quick here. 14 points per game in 27.3 minutes played per game. 4 rebounds, 1.2 assists, 1.2 steals, 0.3 blocks. Yeah, definitely nice to see a guy that put 4 years in college, and now finally we can draft guys like that because they fit in with our I set myself up to say it, our timeline.
They fit in with our young guys' age.
Our core. But yeah, I like a lot of things that Reed brings to the table. And if we were definitely big on him before we drafted him, I see him getting minutes this year at the backup too. Unless Brandon Knight plays like a machine out of nowhere this year. I think Davon Reed will be logging some minutes. Thank you, Mitch. I agree.
I was going to wait until Chuck was done saying to say that. It's probably more than likely that Brandon Knight doesn't put it back
couldn't
together.
wait.
Yeah, no, I'm just really excited to see Davon Reed, and I think that his competition for that backup too is Brandon Knight, and I think that he will be able to play into rotation. And if there's one thing that we know from Watson is that He has the green light to play the young guys, and he's not afraid to.
Right on. So, David, I know there's another guy that you're pretty big on, and we're getting down the line a little bit here, but Shaquille Harrison playing point guard
Yes.
for us at Summer League. Great stuff. 22 minutes per game, 10.3 points per game, 3 boards, 1 assist, 2 steals. Steals are where it sticks out to me. That guy played great defense for us, kept the pressure on the other ball handlers, and just he came up with a lot of steals, great in the fast break. I mean, I was very happy with him coming from a guy I didn't know much about. He was great to watch.
Yeah, this is one of two guys that I would have in the locker room as soon as the last Summer League game was done, given him a pen and said, hey, sign this two-way contract. I was really, really impressed with his play. It kind of reminds me of when we were kind of talking about Derek Jones Jr. a little bit last Summer League, about how this guy could possibly get some spot minutes just because he, work in progress, but he's got something there. And I think Shaquille Harrison has something there and deserves a two-way contract way more than Mike James does. Like, I don't think that could be overstated enough. The dude played solid D whenever he was out there. He was getting steals, He was getting to the line even in a couple of those games where he was just driving and able to get there and, looked like a willing passer. Wasn't necessarily trying to just get his at times, it seemed. And, that's what you want out of a guy that can play either the one or two. You want these kind of non-selfish guys and that are going to put in work. And I think that's Shaquille Harrison.
Yeah, Shaquille Harrison is definitely a guy I'm going to follow this year and see where he ends up, wherever it may be. And another somewhat of a no-namer that made some noise on the Summer League squad, Chris Obekba, our big man off the bench. He had so many blocks in Summer League. It's 1.3 per game, but it feels like it was about 5 per game. He would get off the floor so fast, and he must have a great wingspan too, because he was just snatching balls out of nowhere. And got to the line quite a bit, grabbed 4 rebounds per game. Just the kind of guy that you might like to have at the very end of your bench, or a two-way guy. So he's another one I'll be following.
Yeah, I think when there were measurements and stuff, he's like 6'9", not necessarily a big bruiser kind of dude, but hey, I don't think that you can hate on a guy that's going to go out there, get blocked, get rebounds, and hit free throws. And that's what he was doing. And I think that alone warrants a two-way contract with the ability to kind of give those out a little bit more freely. Gosh, these two dudes, I want to see them get some run with the G League. I want to see them possibly sit at the end of the bench and just chill there, get some lessons on how to be good locker room guys. And, at the end of the season when people are hurt or anything, get a few minutes in here and there on the court.
Yeah, maybe some guys that Alan Williams could teach some towel waving skills to, because
Yep.
I think Big Sauce might be in for a few more minutes this year. He might have to pass the torch a little bit. All right, but let's talk about some of the somewhat disappointments from Summer League, and one of them got brought up a little earlier, and it is a guy that we gave a two-way contract to. So, Mike James, and I think David's been the most vocal, so how about you start us off, man?
Yeah, for a guy that's supposed to be a point guard, this dude's not a point guard. This is another... this dude's a 2 that has basically been shoehorned into playing point just because of his size, and that's kind of what all 2s kind of have to do nowadays, just because of how important the point guard position is. And this dude just wasn't really he was just looking to get his, and for a guy that signed a 2-way contract seemingly right away, it was really disappointing to see him just pass wide open dudes and jack up a really bad shot, or wave off someone like Josh Jackson in the closing seconds of a game and then try to throw it when Jackson is cutting to the rim for a rebound, because guess what? Mike James probably was going to miss a shot, so Jackson made the right call. especially when the dude's going up for a shot and then throws it away as a pass and then wants to give Jackson a little bit of garbage. Like, I'm not really a fan of this dude. He's a Euro player. Let some other team sign him to a contract. I don't want to be that team.
Well, I mean, it was like the two most disappointing 30-point games I've ever seen. You know, but yeah, I'm with you.
If you look at his stats, you'd say he might have been the best or second best player on our team. He played 33 minutes per game, averaged 20.5 points. He shot almost 54% from the floor, 5 rebounds and 5 assists per game. I mean, it's when you put up those numbers, it's tough to talk smack. But we're sitting here doing it. We watch the games, and he doesn't look like a point guard, an NBA point guard. He doesn't have quite the skill level of a guy like, I mean, yeah, he has a nice handle, but it's nothing like Kyrie. Yeah, he can get to the rim, but he can't finish like Kyrie. He's like just like Kyrie's bad cousin that was playing JV while Kyrie was playing varsity as a freshman. Like, I don't know.
I would have rather see David Stockton play a few more minutes
Yeah,
while
what
he was on
happened to
the
David
team.
Stockton?
David
3
Stockton
minutes
isn't
in
good.
the
I don't
first
know.
game, and he was just out of there. Like, he left Las Vegas, I think.
Yeah, it was quick.
Because he just sucks that bad. I will say, trying to compare Mike James to Kyrie is kind of hurtful, because there are some people that say that Kyrie is the best finisher in the game right now and is possibly the best handles of anyone ever in the league. So, I mean, like, comparing Mike James to that is a little rough. But, like, you know, in the NBA, there's this phenomenon after All-Star break where we get garbage time players that put up a bunch of stats and look like they might be good and then turn out to really not be, get a big contract, don't ever live up to it because they played a good stretch of games when no one else was around to really play. And people will talk smack about Booker and say that he's just on a garbage team or whatever, but watch Mike James. That's the true garbage time player that would go in there when nothing matters, take all the shots, score a decent line, and then get overpaid. That's the type of player that Mike James is.
Mike James is a bad Ish Smith with a Kyrie mentality.
Yes. But not as
Dang,
fast
that's
as Ish
rough.
Smith. Like, Ish Smith at least has speed on his side.
I'm just talking skill level. I called him a bad Ish Smith.
You right.
Okay.
Man,
I don't think I was reaching too far. on that
You
one.
weren't. You weren't.
that's a burn.
I mean, like, I just wanted to
That's
give Ish Smith a little bit more credit because, like, I don't know. Because I just really don't like Mike James.
Well, it's because the only time you see Ish Smith play, at least for me, is when he destroys the Suns once a year, or
Yeah.
like it was like 5 times a year a couple of years back.
Vengeance.
The vengeance
All
of
right.
Ish Smith.
So, that's sad. That's sad. Okay.
We're changing the podcast title to "The Vengeance of Ish Smith."
There we go.
Revenge of the Ish.
Maybe a metal band name too. No.
I don't
Okay,
get
let's
any
move on.
credit for the Star Wars throw. Never mind. Whatever.
No, I'm not in a Star Wars mood right
It
now.
worked.
Okay.
Yo, can I throw
So,
someone out there as a disappointment? And
that's why we're here, man.
this may be a little rough considering, and his stats probably weren't that bad, but I want to say Marquise Chris.
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, we know the dude's a project. He hasn't really been playing pro that much. He was overweight and all these things, but I mean, when we walked into Summer League last year and watched Booker just put on a clinic and continued to watch him put on a clinic for the entire thing, with all the starter minutes that Marquise Chris got, I was hoping him to, you know, basically average 20 and 10 in Summer League. Another guy that didn't really get a whole ton of minutes that we saw last year play in last year's Summer League that just looked better than everyone else was like Bobby Portis. And whereas Chris did look like a second-year player, like he had some experience, there were just some times where he just wasn't as good as I thought he was going to be in summer league, and that's kind of disappointing to me. And his stats probably looked fine, all those things. The dude did get hurt at the end of his last game, or at the beginning of his last game, and didn't play the official last game. So there's that. But it just was kind of disappointing. I wanted to see a little bit more from him, see him take a little bit more charge of the offense, and instead it felt like Josh Jackson kind of did that whenever he got the chance when Mike James wasn't playing, and went out there and kind of did basically what I expected Chris to kind of do.
So yeah, Marquise, it seemed like on the offensive side of the ball, I was expecting for him to maybe do a little more high post or even low post action, see him try to score from the elbow, but he settled for a lot of threes. I don't have the number down of how many threes he took, but he was definitely pulling threes. And our one big gripe with him last year didn't seem to go away this year in summer league, and that's the fouling. You get 8 per game in those first 3 games, and he used those all up pretty much. A ton of fouls at summer league, and that's something where he's probably a little more, I don't want to say polished, but maybe more NBA ready with a little more experience than some of the guys he was matched up on, and it really didn't show. He ended up still picking up a lot of fouls. So yeah, and then it's so disappointing he went down with that ankle injury at the end. It seems like, man, we didn't see a ton from him here at Summer League, and then it had to end that way. That's rough. But, I mean, Marquise will play better when he's on the court with better players, just like he did in the league last year. So,
well, and he'll be in better shape too. I think that was a big part of it. It's apparent he's just been in the weight room like nonstop because he's huge, and
he's beefy.
Right, and that's good because once he gets into like regular season shape and gets all that conditioning, I don't think we're going to have to worry about that as much. So what we saw was just him being a little out of shape, I think, and he'll be fine.
I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like the season was over long enough. I mean, like, I guess it was. It was close to like 3 months, I guess. It just didn't seem like it was really that much for him to really get that much out of shape. But
I mean, when he's like 19, 20 years old, 3 months in the weight room and probably eating whatever he wants, like, that makes a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. He, at the end of last season, it seemed like he was starting to slow down a little bit on just jacking up threes and the fouling, and at times it seemed like he got better basically every month at fouling, and it seemed like those same issues just came up in summer league. So maybe there wasn't someone there to kind of hold him accountable, and so he kind of just did whatever. But who knows? I'm a little disappointed, and maybe we should be a little disappointed in Bender too, but I don't think we expected much from Bender. He played 38 games, 28 games, something like that in the regular season last year. This dude's still basically a rookie, whereas Marquise is definitely a second-year guy now. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely fair to say that we all probably wanted to see a little more out of Chris at Summer League this year. But let's keep things moving. Talk about Summer League as a whole. Our reactions. I know we had a pretty great time while we were down there, and watching games it's great there. I mean, you're in Las Vegas, but I really like the Thomas and Mack Center, and the Cox Pavilion, the secondary gym there. That is a great setup for Summer League. Now that there's so many teams, it seems like maybe a third gym might not be a bad idea, but it's not. Maybe they'll have to pick one out somewhere. But, man, I just really like going to games there, and I'd like to say I am 6 for 6 on Rebel Dogs per day at Summer League. Just the nice hot dogs, the Rebel Dogs. I'm all about that. So, only spilled mustard on my shorts one time. What did you guys enjoy?
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, one of my favorite parts was just like, it's such an intimate setting at the Cox Pavilion, and that's where the 2 games that I saw of ours were. And you're so close to the players, even when you have to sit a little bit back, you're just really close to the action. So that's cool. I remember at one point I was wearing a Bender jersey, and we were like, I don't know, 8 rows up or something, and I was just like waving to him like, I'm wearing your jersey. I don't know if he noticed or not, but I'm just like, he could have. We were really close, and so that was kind of fun. And then just walking around the concourse, you see like all of these players, famous people, like big name people, and that's pretty cool just to be like walking around and then, oh, David Aldridge is walking next to me all of a sudden. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so like, I mean, the first day we were there, Chuck was going to get one of them Rebel Dogs, and Scotty Brooks was just like a couple rows over talking with someone in the like bleachers, and we weren't even over by where like the coaches were. He was kind of just out there. A couple of days later, I think it was during our last game, Dylan Brooks was down in one of the seats, and I stopped and said hey to him, and that was kind of cool. And especially in the Cox Pavilion, you walk down and you end up walking just right behind the benches when you're going to do anything. So, I mean, that stuff's just really cool.
So one of my favorite moments, this is just getting kind of random as we wind down here, but we were sitting at the game, and I believe there was an issue with the clock, and the ref was trying to communicate with the scorers table, and they were trying to get the clock and the buzzer fixed up. And this happened like 3 separate times within a few minutes of game time, and this ref was pretty excited to be there, would be a good way to put it. And after the 3rd time of trying to fix the clock and yelling no subs, because we heard that just over and over, some guy behind us yells, get involved, to the ref. It was just like the ref show for the last 15 minutes, and I think the 3 of us were the only 3 to really enjoy that moment as much as we did. But that stuck out, and it's just like goes back to that fun atmosphere. It's just fun being down in Vegas, fun being at Summer League, fun being so close to the court, and good times.
Well, and then that same guy, like the next possession, the ref had to review something. Same ref, and the guy goes, "Get in there!" I mean, you guys heard it. I was laughing like nonstop for probably 5 minutes. It was so funny.
Yeah, I mean, between that, heckling a heckler and meeting Lindsey Smith, it was
so jealous.
It was a lot of fun. I had to throw that one.
I want to
in.
meet
Sorry,
Lindsey
man.
Smith so bad, and David got
David got a selfie with Lindsey Smith, the Suns sideline reporter and social media, whatever her title may be. She does an excellent job.
Amazingness.
Mitch may be in love, and me and David caught her next to the Josh Jackson line, and we talked to her for a minute, and we just knew Mitch would be so jealous.
You were right.
Here I am rubbing it in a little more.
Yeah, it's a pretty good thing to rub in, but it kind of just adds to the whole experience of Summer League when that kind of stuff happens, and it's pretty cool. And Mitch talked about David Aldridge. Met Leigh Ellis last year, and there wasn't as much of the starter stuff going on this year, but last year we were early enough to where we were able to do that. It's just all that stuff really adds into the Summer League, and they've put money into the Thomas and Mack Center, and it definitely shows. And I think it's one of the big reasons why, if there is expansion in the league, there should be probably some talk about a team going in Vegas.
Or Seattle. You don't want to offend
Seattle is what there would be
in the Northwest.
There would be 2 teams. There would have to be 2 teams if there was expansion. I just already assumed that I think we all assumed that Seattle is one of those teams.
Yeah, Seattle
that's fair.
And Vegas, and then put New Orleans and Memphis in the East. It would work.
That
out.
makes
that's not how that would work.
Sense. It makes too much sense not to happen.
Only one team would move to the East.
Huh?
Why?
Because if you just move one team to the East right now, then there will be 2 more teams in the East than there are in the West. So then if you just added 2 teams to the West, then there would be the same thing.
Oh, well.
Sorry.
I don't care. Both of those teams are in the eastern part of the United States. They need to be in the East.
Hey, can we play in the East? Phoenix? Let's do it.
Let's
make
start
the
a petition.
playoffs much sooner. All right. We're near an hour here. Let's wind this thing down. Actually, no, it is wound down. We'll just see you next week. Go Suns.